Classic Business with Michael Avery, sponsored by Alex Forbes, for insight, advice, and impact.
One of South Africa's leading voices on artificial intelligence, Johan, the founder of AI for Business, recently delivered a fascinating keynote at the Institute for Future of Work with Tshwane University of Technology, talking about the impact of AI in the creative arts. Is it a friend or foe? And I think many in the creative industries are worried about this. It was first highlighted when we saw many screenwriters in Hollywood down tools at the threat of things like ChatGPT and others replacing them, or certainly doing large parts of their jobs. Johan, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Michael.
You started your talk with what I thought was quite a playful experiment using ChatGPT. It's a great way to demonstrate the technology. How do you think our daily interactions and perceptions of AI colour this idea that it is a potential threat?
Yeah, Michael, I think most people that I speak with on a daily basis are still very pessimistic and fearful about it. Don't really know much about it and therefore resist it. And then when I demonstrate the potential benefits for their day-to-day jobs, especially the repetitive, mundane stuff we don't want to do, they get quite excited about it. But I think people are grappling with it. I call this a post-ChatGPT age. At least it brought it to the forefront of our conversations for most of us. Do we embrace it and use it, or do we fear it? People are really in two minds about it, it seems to me.
Yeah, it's like, as you mentioned in your talk, it's a tool. I'm certainly using it like a tool, like you start using Word or Excel as those became part of our everyday working toolkit. And in your speech, you said tools are neutral, but AI can be influenced by the intentions and the actions of those who develop and deploy it. So I suppose there are still some ethical concerns, given that humans are the only species known to kill their own en masse and actively destroy their environment. How do we ensure that AI, which could surpass human intelligence, doesn't inherit these destructive tendencies?
Yeah, that's a start of my consulting and my talks with people is AI is not good or bad. It's how we use it. Like any tool we've created for millennia. Will it get out of our control? Will it create its own tools, which is what it's doing at the moment with large language models and generative AI? It's the first time in our history that we as tool creators create tools that can create their own tools. So most people I speak with are almost blissfully unaware of the dangers we're heading for. We are really sleeping at the wheel. And it's not about fear-mongering and the like. But as everyday citizens, and especially as parents, we should be very concerned about this for the future of our children, for the future of careers and education and the like. We shouldn't be afraid of it. Definitely use it for your benefit as a tool. But let's not assume that it's not going to take over. You know, I read recently that large language models like Google's Gemini, ChatGPT from OpenAI, will be about 1,000 times more powerful in the next 3 years. It's a massive topic that we are absolutely going to have to grapple with, this balance between using it to benefit us and potentially losing control of it.
And in that context, certainly when we look at the job market impact, you did express skepticism about AI creating more jobs than it eliminates. And that's always been the example that's used around those who are concerned about new technologies and the Luddites and the like. It's unlike previous industrial revolutions. Can you just discuss the types of jobs most at risk and what sectors might see growth due to AI advancements?
Such a good question, Michael. Look, people will say in every industrial revolution, eventually more jobs were created than were lost. It will be different in this and in the next industrial revolutions because of the rate of change. It's not just pivoting your career or re-educating yourself once. It will be a continual exercise. When you read the reports from Gartner and the consulting firms about future jobs, it's all about coding and data analysis and data engineering. But how does that apply to a truck driver and to just people doing administrative jobs? I think AI is on the path of out-automating almost everything we're doing, blue and white collar jobs. I encourage my son, and this might sound funny, that he should become a plumber one day. He's only 10 now, because a plumber is an unautomatable job that will most probably be a very lucrative job in the future. Maybe a silly example. But find the jobs that AI can't do. Caregiving, nursing, teaching, jobs that should have been very lucrative many years ago, and it's not. But what are those jobs that technology will never be able to do? And it comes back to that human-to-human interaction, the things we value. And I think in every career we should grapple with what can only I do because of my experience, my expertise, and what should the AI do, those repetitive, mundane, reporting kind of tasks that we should never have been doing in the first place. Still, most of the people I speak with, this topic is not even a blip on the radar. They're not thinking about it, and it's a huge concern for me.
Massive blind spot, that. When you look at that through the lens of what it's doing to the creative industries, when I use many of the tools, there is still some sense of it being formulaic to an extent, and it's not really giving me a sense of real human creativity and consciousness. Do you think AI could ever truly replicate human creativity?
I think it can, Michael, and it's, the challenge, I think, especially in the creative arts, is that my image, my voice, my likeness is my property. But in most of the contracts that creative people sign with producers and publication houses and the like, we surrender that right. I was on a very popular TV show recently where the document I had to sign said that not only do I give them permission to obviously edit what I'm saying and edit my image and the like, but to use it for the future. I signed it somewhat ignorantly. It doesn't really affect me because performing or acting or being on TV is not my source of income. But if you're an actor or a voice artist or the like, and especially in the age of deep fakes, where the technology is so brilliant, where they can use your image for the rest of your life without any compensation, and in light of zero regulation across the world, especially in Africa and South Africa, it's a huge concern for creatives. Now, can creativity, that human spark, that divine spark inside of you, be replicated? I don't know, but I think the possibilities are there. And what does that mean for the future of acting and performing and opera and the things we love that inspire us? It's something we're going to have to grapple with. I think in the future, AI will probably replicate the human the human spark of creativity, and then our creativity is somewhat redundant, I think.
That is a rather frightening concept when one thinks of what creativity means, what the appreciation of art means, and how fundamental it is to human culture and expression and identity. So how do you see the role of human creativity evolving then in a world that is increasingly dominated and competed with in that field by AI? Do you think we might see new forms of creative expression emerging?
I would like to think that. Look, if we think of the history of art, and if we think of artists like Van Gogh and others, they were typically the outcasts, the people who were eventually buried in graves that were never celebrated, Mozart and others. I mean, it's this dichotomy of human artistry where the brilliant minds are often a generation or two or three ahead of their time. Will AI and it replacing most of what we consider art at the moment open up a whole new number of avenues for artists that potentially, again, will not be recognized in their era? Possibly. It's somewhat following, I think, the evolution of human art. To be honest, Michael, I don't know. I'd like to think that. I want to go to a museum and watch amazing paintings and listen to amazing opera. Will that emotion that it elicits in us, that inspiration, be replaced by AI? Possibly. maybe not. But honestly, I don't know if I can really answer that question.
It's an extremely existential question, if one really breaks it down, because I believe art is such a fundamental part of human nature and creativity and experience and the way we make sense of the world. And if that very foundation is being challenged by technology in a way where we might not be able to distinguish between true artistic expression and something generated by a machine, wow, it does raise a whole host of very serious philosophical questions. In light of this, I mean, as an industry, as a creative industry, what are the kinds of practical steps that individual artists, that organizations can take to achieve a balance here and to harness the potential of AI without losing our humanity?
Michael, I think that artists should be unionized. They should be protected by law. They should also be upskilled about what kind of contracts they can sign or not sign. And sadly, in a country like ours, I think artists are so desperate for work, and obviously it's not very lucrative, that they'll almost sign up for anything, any kind of gig that they can get. But what are those terms and conditions in the contract? And should they really sign it? And I think there should be more government involvement in enforcing ethical and fair practices in this field. It's almost like a digital servitude. I'm an artist, I'm well known, but I'm signing away all the rights of my creativity and my expertise to a company that will use it for the rest of my life without any compensation. So I think artists need upskilling, but I also think there should be a larger enforcement, a legal enforcement on the right of artists. If I'm an actor and you use my face and my likeness in digital ways in the future and you lucratively compensate me for it, I'll probably be okay with it. But there's currently no legislative framework for that in most of the world, especially in our country. So I think that, call it street smartness from an actor's and a performer's point of view, but also an overarching legislative framework is really what we need to see in the next few years.
And hopefully the policymakers in the 7th administration will take this extremely seriously. But there was lots of, there were talks, there were conferences held and promises of action in the 6th administration that really weren't followed through to a satisfactory level. So we'll be keeping a very close eye on that. Thank you very much, Johan Steyn, the founder of AI for Business and a very well-renowned human-centered artificial intelligence advocate, discussing the impacts of AI in the creative arts here on Classic Business.
Classic Business with Michael Avery, sponsored by Alex Forbes, for insight, advice, and impact.